Welcome to Inspired Changemakers, a podcast about all the amazing things people are doing to make the world a better place. This podcast is about creating change and the moments that inspired our guests to activate. My name is Julia Healy, and I'm the CEO of United Charitable. Stay tuned to be inspired. Hey, Hannibal, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Julia, how are you?
Good.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's really cool.
Well, you definitely have something to do with me being on this podcast today and starting this whole venture. So I'm very excited for our conversation.
I am too. I've been looking forward to it.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Where do I start? I'll start with my career. Obviously, I played in the NFL for 9 years. Went to Colorado University. Started there. Got drafted to the NFL, to the Carolina Panthers. Played there for 4 years, went to Green Bay, went to Cincinnati, and I got to retire from my favorite team in the world, the 49ers. So I'm a Bay Area kid, so that was like a full circle for me, full circle moment to retire from the 49ers. So that was a good deal for me. So since then, I've been, the whole philanthropy thing. I left the NFL and started my own foundation. Well, actually, I started my foundation before I left the NFL, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But, career-wise, worked at the NFL Players Association, worked at the Trust powered by the NFLPA, worked there for almost 8 years, and I'm very proud of that because we started a division called the Trust that helped current and former players transition from football. So that was a passion thing for me, something that, played to the side of me that likes to give. So that was a job that I like to wake up to every day and continue to give and help people and mentor and help people along and help people in their lives. So that was a good deal as well. Currently, Vice President of Development for United Charitable. First task that my CEO gave me was to build our Athletes Charitable, division of United Charitable for professional athletes, was a need that you and I both saw. And so I've just been excited to been building that for the last couple of years. It's been a really amazing journey.
And why do you think philanthropy has had such a theme in your life?
It's been part of my life. Giving, I would say, I didn't know what 501c3 was. I didn't necessarily understand what philanthropy meant when I was young growing up, but I always grew up in a household of giving, right? My father and my mother were always giving, and I look back now at a lot of things they were doing. My daddy was in the community, my mom was in the community, and they were always building organizations and doing things to build resources for youth and for different people. And so I didn't know what it meant. I just knew that it was my duty to give back to my community. So I didn't necessarily put two and two together like, I need to start a 501c3 and do philanthropy. I just knew that at some point I need to give back to my community. So my mother was heavy into philanthropy as well. She started her first nonprofit in the late 80s called Path to Success, and she started in Oakland, California. She took hundreds of kids to the South for Black college tours. So she were kids who probably would never attended college in their lives, where she was able to raise money and take hundreds of kids from Oakland back and forth to travel all the way through Atlanta to Virginia to D.C. to tour all the Black colleges. And so that was something I grew up watching her do. And the other foundation that I would say that I knew was a foundation for sure was when my father got sick with leukemia. My mother started the AMDA Foundation, which is African American Marrow Donor Association, because I didn't know this at the time. Obviously, nobody really knew or bring awareness to it, but African Americans have a different, opportunity or a different percentage of surviving the disease leukemia because marrow donors have to match, right? So only African Americans can match African Americans, and and so the donor base for African Americans was a lot less, than the counterpart. So she started that to try to save his life, and so that's something that I look back and I didn't know it at the time, but to look back and see that my mom started a whole organization to help save my father's life, and it went all over the Bay Area and was doing blood drives and things like that all over the Bay Area. She got hundreds and hundreds of thousands, probably thousands of African Americans in that marrow donor. So it wasn't about just saving my father; it was about putting more because we could save other African Americans that have this disease. So that was a powerful thing. Obviously, my father didn't make it, but just the fact that she put everything down and started that foundation, that nonprofit was amazing.
And in your career, you've always chosen to serve other people. Why does that interest you so much?
It interests me because it's what drives me. It's something that, I can wake up every day and feel fulfilled knowing that my job or my what I do has a purpose, right? Gives me purpose. I have children, obviously, so I give to my kids, but to give to the world, to give to other people, to see the impact that you can have on other people is just something that drives me, something that's I don't want to do anything or work a job or do things that don't pour into other people or don't give other people resources, opportunities. So just for me, it's just part of who I am, just my upbringing.
And you've talked a little bit about the causes that your parents really supported. What causes interest you?
Education, youth and education, I would say the biggest things. I play sports, so I use the tool of sports to educate the youth, right, the upcoming youth, because it's such a powerful, sports nowadays is such a powerful tool to grab the attention of the youth. And so I had the opportunity and ability to play in the NFL and go a long way and understand this business of sports, understanding the steps in sports. And so I take that to drive the education part of it, not just education as far as math and science, but just education in life, right? Leadership development through athletics. That's really my tag word that I really live by, because this leadership development is really the education that I'm talking about, right? How do we build new leaders? And I feel like athletes are natural-born leaders for the most part anyway. That even if they don't know they're leaders, they're put in front as the leaders because of their visibility, right? So I think for me, it was just about raising and building more leaders and letting them understand that they were leaders and letting them understand what that meant, right? And so understanding what that journey was. And so that's really what drives me. I feel like education is the key to a lot of things. If people are more educated, you're healthier, you save your money better, you do a lot of different things, right? You're more educated on things, because I looked at how uneducated I was in certain topics or certain things when I was coming along. So, I mean, the first time I heard about credit was when I went to buy a house. So, I mean, there's just so many different things. I'm in the NFL about to buy a house, and that's the first time I really understood credit. So there's just, for me, education means more than, like I said, just a classroom. What can we give more than the classroom has not given our kids? And that's really what, I love to do.
And why do you think you can make a difference? Like, why can Hannibal Navies make a difference in a kid's life?
Why can I make a difference? Because I feel like I can do anything. I feel like I can do anything I set my mind to, whether it's business or helping other people. But I mean, it's not. I just think that I have a ability. I guess what the true answer would be: I saw my dad, I saw my father and my mother, and I saw that what they did and how the impact that they had. I mean, my father was like the shining star in my life and my family's life. And so I just try to match up to what he's been doing, what he did and what he left, and legacy that he left. I mean, he's been dead for over 20 years and people still talk about him to this day. Like, he was the best teacher, the best professor they've had, if it wasn't for him, their lives wouldn't be the same, or that they changed their lives. And so for me, that's all I need to see. I grew up in a household where that was every day. So to be able to try to get to that level, I mean, I'm still trying, right? I'm still trying to reach to the level of my father and what he's been able to accomplish as far as leadership and as far as impact on people, right? And, there's people that are like my friends' mothers and fathers are like, man, your dad was my teacher and he was amazing. Like, so that meant a lot to me. So that's why I saw it. That was my motto that I try to follow. And so it was just in me.
I'd like to thank United Charitable for sponsoring today's Inspired Changemakers podcast. United Charitable is a national nonprofit that focuses on guiding you on your charitable journey. Whether you like to simply streamline your giving or you like to create your own charitable initiative, United Charitable has the knowledge and resources to support you. If you'd like to learn more, check out the link in our bio. And, we started working together probably about 3 years ago now, which is insane, with this idea around Athletes Charitable and using what United Charitable does so well,
right.
And really bringing it to professional athletes. And when I first started working with you, the thing that I really was impressed with, how you never pushed what you thought would make the world a better place, that you met people. It's like your famous saying, like, you meet people where they are, right? Yeah. So what athlete inspired you growing up?
What athlete inspired me growing up, through philanthropy or just in general?
Through philanthropy.
That's a good question. I remember the first time that I came across a professional athlete and he was speaking to us. It was Ronnie Lott. Okay. So I remember being in junior high, Ronnie Lott coming to speak to us and talking about doing good and talking about giving back and doing stuff in community. That's the first recollection I have of a professional athlete actually being in person and talking to us and giving us like a, good mentoring session. So I guess I can pinpoint that point. It's kind of probably, I'm a Ronnie Lott fan too. So I was just sitting there like, and that's when I understood the power of the sports, right? So when I became someone that people could look to. I know that you can grab the attention of youth, but just because, you've been able to play a sport. So I use that to my advantage as well.
Well, and I have that kind of personal experience as well, is that, my parents had their own philanthropy and I was not into their philanthropy at all. My mom's a teacher, and my dad really gave back to math counts, which is like the donated calculator. It just wasn't my thing.
Right.
And then one day at the Eagles game, Donovan McNabb's foundation came up, and I'd follow Donovan McNabb anywhere he would go. But so I really know that athletes can make such a difference and bring awareness to causes that you wouldn't have an introduction to. And so tell me a little bit about the 360 Sports Academy.
360 Sports Academy, which evolved from years ago. I started in 2010. I had retired in 2008. And I have been doing the Navies Foundation for years. And, that was about education as well, about bringing resources, education to my community. And we started off doing football camps. I called them camps back then. I don't call them camps anymore because I do academies. But we started doing football camps, and I realized that the impact, right? Because you do it, you never know what's going to happen. I remember my first academy I ever did. First camp I ever did. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how it's going to be. What am I going to say to the kids, and how is it going to turn out? But I did it, and I saw the response, not just the kids, but the parents and the community. And they just yearn for this attention. They yearn for these resources. They yearn for the knowledge from somebody that people look up to. And it just began something that just began to fuel me. So I did that for like 8 years straight before I retired. And the camp just got bigger and bigger. And my thing was I didn't want it to be just a camp, because after the camps were over, we would pour into the kids. And I remember the parents or kids would come up to me and say, how can I keep in touch with you? How can I get more of what I'm getting now, right? And so it just started to dawn on me, like, this is not enough. I don't feel my impact is reaching. My impact is one day is not impacting the community the way that I would like it to impact them. So when I retired, I had the time and the ability and I had mentors around me, and we were able to build a business and a foundation around leadership development through athletics. That's what birthed the 360 Sports Academy, 360 Football Academy came when I retired, and had some good mentors around me. One of them, Johnny Shibley, was a good mentor to me. He helped me really flesh these things out and gave me the confidence to really go as big as I did. And so we wanted to build a holistic approach to it, right? And say, okay, not just a camp, let's do an academy and let's make it year-round. We know that to really impact kids, you need to continue. You need to be repetitive, right? Just like sports. And so that's what we did, and we wanted to build a curriculum around it. So back then, we had Kaplan was our partner. We had, we had financial literacy partners, and so this is old school, so we were sending kids computers and all kind of stuff, the big computers. And so we were doing online courses back then when online courses weren't even happening. So we were doing SAT prep online. We're doing a lot, right? So we just looked at all the things that we could talk about and build around that journey is right in sports, right? So we wanted to tie the educational piece to their journey in sports, right? So that's how they are relating to it. So we took everything we could and built that, and so it's just morphed and grew ever since then. And we did our first one at Georgia Tech. It was amazing. It was like week long too. it was a week long. It was 5 days. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, snack. But I literally felt like after the week was over, everybody, you could have sat in the room for the people that were involved in it, and it would just, nobody could say anything. Everybody was just amazed, and it was very spiritual in a sense, right? Where the impact was actually seen and realized. Like, it was the first time, because I've seen people come up to me before, like, thank you for doing this, and I'm glad you did this, and my kid, but to see a kid change from Monday to Friday, and their attitude change, and what their perspective change, and what they want to do change, and then I had parents calling me a week later, like, I don't know what you said to my son, but he wants to go to college now. He's talking about taking SAT. He's talking about doing this, and when you see it, you get the letters from the kids, and you get when you see Ray Lewis almost shed a tear from a kid's letter, that's when you know you're having impact. And so that's what really continued to fuel me I've never let 360 go ever since, right? So for me, it's not always been good times with 360 because it's a lot of work. Things change, technology changes, but I've stayed at it because it's been something that I'll never let go. It's just fueled me because I know when it's done right, and when it separates yourself from just a camp, and you let the kids know that you're here to teach them all the aspects of life through sports and what that really means, and continue to fuel them resources, and not just them, but the parents. We did the parents of professional athletes portion of what we did, right. So the parents were empowered as well. It was just a powerful thing, and so for me, I've been chasing that ever since, and just really just that impact. I saw it, and I just I got to get that right. I want to create more of that.
And how do you think change happens?
I think change is repetition. Everything to me is repetition. I think it's just change happens with repetition. Change happens with consistency. Change happens with good people, right? And genuine people, authentic people that continuously pour into what they're trying to do. I think that's how change happens.
And now, have you seen, your kids are a little bit older, but have you seen your kids have any kind of entryway into philanthropy?
I have my daughter more so. Well, actually, both of them. I mean, my son played in sports, and so their basketball team will go out and feed the homeless at the shelters in Atlanta. My daughter, she has volunteer time that she has. She got an extra little rope for her graduation because she gave so many volunteer hours and things like that. So it's in them. And I think that it will only grow as they get older, when they get a little bit more out of themselves, right, and start looking at the things around them. They grew up in a different environment than me, so hopefully they'll grow to see that other people are in need. I mean, I grew up in Oakland, California, where I saw it around me probably more often. But, they definitely have it.
So if a donor wanted to donate to the 360 Sports Academy, how would they find out some more information?
Go to my giving page at 360sportsacademy.org and find all the information and can donate right there.
Awesome. Well, Hannibal, thank you so much for joining us today. I very much appreciate it. And I love watching the impact that you continue to make, not only in 360 Sports Academy, but with everybody that you're inspiring at United Charitable and Athletes Charitable. Your impact is definitely felt. So we appreciate all that you do.
Thank you.
Find Inspired Changemakers on Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn, and comment on all the awesome things you are doing to make this world a better place. Don't forget to subscribe.